see them doing the power.
Yeah, the urban gardens. You're filing in now, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If I lose you, I'm sorry, but I think I have coverage, but I'm not sure.
Okay, no problem. Are you going to try calling back then or no?
Where is it?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'll get. I don't know if I can't call back. I'll just won't be at the meeting.
Okay, no problem.
I'm still very close to shore.
Okay.
Roger. Where did he go? I know he's on vacation. What's that? Where is the? They are having vacation. Where? Cruising. Oh, cruising.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Did anybody see Kenny?
He's a moving target.
Was Kenny over there at the office?
I didn't see him. I didn't see him. He's running the meeting tonight, right?
He is. Here. Well, we got 5 minutes yet, according to my clock. Mayor, we're waiting on Kenny.
Okay, thanks.
My clock, we got 4 minutes.
No problem.
No idea.
Here comes IT.
Here he comes. Nope, that's Lewis.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm like, what is this? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mayor, what time do you have?
I have 5:58.
That's what I have. Okay.
So if Kenny doesn't come, who's in charge? You're a senior man, right?
You'll be up, Roger. I'm not calling it.
No, no.
Tomorrow is the third Thursday of the month.
Is it?
Yeah. I think.
Mayor, if Kenny doesn't show, who do you want to do this?
They called him today, so he should be there. But if not,
The 16th.
somebody there should just decide who it is because there's no one else in line. Everybody else, there's no senior member there.
Dave,
I guess
Jim,
the senior
Roger?
member left would be Roger.
You're up then. I still got 1 more minute.
We'll wait a minute.
Okay. It's all right.
That's what my clock has. One moment.
Got 6, Roger.
Can you call him?
I can call.
We need to
6 o'clock.
You want me to call him? Okay.
I think we need to
Can we
start.
call the meeting order, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. 6 o'clock.
I'll call this stated session of City Council to order, and please rise for the invocation and the pledge to the flag. We gather tonight to make decisions for the citizens of our city. Guide us with wisdom and understanding. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown? Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana?
Here.
And Mayor Panto?
Here,
Approval of the agenda. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to take item D off the consent agenda. And
Item which one?
D off the consent and move it to unfinished business, or new business if you want. And under new business, D and E, I'd like to send that to committee for discussion. Under new business, please.
And hold on a second.
D and E under new business.
E and E remove.
Committee for the, on the 6th, I believe.
You want to remove it from the agenda altogether?
D and E?
Yes.
Yes, please.
And then you want it to go to committee?
Yep, on the 6th. And then you have item D going to,
So I'm sorry. So you're asking that bill number 9. I'm sorry. Bill number 9.
so 9D is going from consent to unfinished business. 9D.
9D, the last one.
And then 14D and E, I'm sending to committee.
14.
Unfinished. No, consent 9D would go under new business then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 14D and E will go to committee.
Okay. And then just a roll call for that?
So we'll have a vote with the amendments.
We need a vote to actually amend it, though.
Actually, I don't think we do.
No, I think that's just,
It's normal course. I mean, we just, as the solicitor said last time, we don't have to make motions to move things off the agenda.
yeah. So this is just a motion, just on the initial motion that was introduced, or made and seconded, I should say.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
aye.
Okay, at this time,
Brown is here.
Mr. Brown? We are on action, we just finished action of the minutes, so we're up to the presentation from the urban farm.
No, we just did agenda. We need to approve the minutes.
Yes.
I'll move the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye. Back to you, Ken. now.
Okay,
We're at the urban farm.
okay, presentation of the urban farm at this time. How you doing, Ms. Williams?
Hello, Mr. Brown, Council. Thanks for having us. For those of you, I think I know everyone briefly, but I'm Jake Williams, and I am the new Executive Director of the Easton Area Neighborhood Center. And I just want to say that it's with great appreciation that I take over and continue the role and the cooperative nature of both the city of Easton and the neighborhood center. And as you all know, the urban farm is one of the centerpieces of our program. And recently, we were granted a $50,000 grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. It is a collaborative grant, and the city will play a great role in expanding the farm and allowing us to expand the farm, moving some of the playground equipment behind our building. And we have great plans, including providing an ADA walkway for those who are disabled or limited mobility. We've already raised planting beds in the garden, and we look forward to having them come to fruition along with the expanded use and a good size greenhouse, which will allow us to expand our growing season. So with that, I'd like to introduce Miss Jenny Pinho and our master gardener, Mark Reed.
So we're here from the Easton Urban Farm. We've got,
You really need to go to the microphone because we're
Sorry.
being,
recorded.
this is going over
Oh,
the air, so
is it?
we
Okay.
need to have,
Thank you. All right, I didn't
So-
realize that. All right, I'll start that again. Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm the chair of the advisory board for the Easton Urban Farm. We came to talk a little bit just about what happened last year and some plans for the future. So Jake's already introed a little bit of what those are, but just to show you a few pictures. This picture is actually from last year. You can see we have a lot of things growing. We try and grow as much as we can in as small space as we have. So we're really excited that we're going to be growing in the future. So we're part of the Neighborhood Center, which is the organization on the south side that hosts us, and a lot of other programs as well, doing financial assistance and housing assistance as well. So we have about 2/3 of an acre. If you don't know where it is, if you're driving on Old Philadelphia Road towards 78, you go past the CVS, and then there's a Big Metal Chicken. We're behind the Big Metal Chicken, so look out for that next time you're down there. If you pull its tail, its wings flap. Very cool. Very excited about that. And then this is Mark Reed, who's our farmer, who makes sure that we actually can grow all the beautiful things that we grow. This is just another view also from last year. So you can see the chicken and the Old Philadelphia Road up front. We've got pretty much every square inch of space that we can planted with something, a little bit of walkways in between, but we're always trying to keep things planted, covered, moving. So many of you have sort of seen the urban farm go through a lot of iterations. So the furthest back that I know of is that in the 70s there were some community garden plots there. That was eventually reorganized around 2012 as an urban farm. So rather than being individual plots that people could rent, it's communally gardened. So there's a farmer who keeps track of what everything is that gets planted, has like the overall plan, and then there are a lot of volunteers and other people who actually sort of help make sure that that all happens. So produce, we've grown a lot of produce over the years. The vast majority of it has been distributed in Easton through various programs. So the first Veggie Van event in the West Ward was 2013. We joined the Neighborhood Center in 2015. And then 2021, which was 2 years ago now, we broke 10,000 pounds for the first time that summer. So we did over 10,000 pounds 2021, 2022. That's part of the plan for 2023. I mean, obviously I can't make any promises, but I think we're heading in a good direction there. So this just shows you produce graph over time. So starting in 2016, we have about 5,000 pounds. And then our number for last year was 11,620. So pretty excited with the increasing trend. We're pretty close to maxed out on the land that we have right now. So I can't say that we're going to keep going on that slope, but with the expansion, we're hoping that we'll have an increase going forward as well. And last year, that produce went out through a handful of programs. So the Neighborhood Center Food Pantry, the Kellen Foundation, who does they have a truck at the West Ward that sells in the West Ward market. And also some other pop-up locations in the area, but the produce that we had was mostly going to the Westward Market. Also to the Silver Connections and some other programs of the Easton Area Community Center, Harlan House, and then 2 other food pantries in the West Ward, St. Vincent de Paul and the Salvation Army. So that's where things went last year, to give you a sense of what's happening to them. And
Which one? I'm not sure if, is that part of Easton? Oh, okay. No, we haven't. No. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So sorry, which one was that? This one? No. Okay. So hi, I'm City Councillor, Mr. Mayor, fellow Eastonians. My name is Mark Reid. I am the farmer at the farm. I've been there for about 6 years. As you saw by the graph, we've been increasing the production every year. We are now at the limit of production because the farm is getting a little tired. So one of the reasons we want to expand the farm is because we want to rotate the crops. So we rotate out of the disease cycle. And in its place, we'll put some cover crops, which will help the farm retain its vitality and break the disease cycle, and also add some much needed green manure, and in some cases biofumigants to the soil, which are organic, especially in the case of mustard greens, which will kill things like nematodes and stuff. So that's why we're trying to expand a little more, as well as to make it look more presentable and to add some programming for education with pollinator beds and signage and a little pathway for people to walk around so they can go there by themselves and just say, oh, look, this is a cornflower, and look at the butterfly here, and we'll have little signage. We're going to work with Nurture Nature Centre a little bit on that, and hopefully they can provide us with some information on that also. So anyhow, moving on. So we had a lot of events in 2022 to bring people from the city out to the farm. Included were Earth Day. Well, we actually had that at Lower Hackett's, but we did that in combination with Easton Garden Works and the City Forester and some other plant-based type businesses in the city. We had a farm fest on the farm. We had about a half dozen vendors out there, and then also some crafts for the kids to come out and make things with vegetables and all that kind of good stuff. We're hoping to increase the Farm Fest input this year, bring more retail to the south side, and maybe if that goes well, the following year we'll do a little bit more. So we're currently working on that to get vendors to come out. Amanda, who's the manager of Easton Wine Project, is spearheading that for us, and we hopefully have some exciting and fun new vendors coming out. So we look forward to that, hopefully. In addition, we will, last year we were very lucky. We had the Secretary of Agriculture, Mr. Redding, come out, and it was really cool. He picked Easton. Of all the places he could have come in the east part of the state, he picked Easton and one other part of the eastern part of the state, and that was the northeastern part, and that was the seed farm in Emmaus, which grows new farmers, which is why it's called Seed Farm. So we were honored to have him come to our humble little farm, and he really values urban agriculture and the education and the food it brings to those in need, and the whole thought process of food being your medicine. That's becoming more and more of a goal of both the federal government and the state government. So we'll see lots more food as medicine crop up with, I think, some funding down the road for that kind of thing too. We also had a honey harvest. We have honeybees. We harvested about 60 pounds of honey. We're hoping to bring 2 more hives in, depending on how much flowers we grow, because we put in too much honeybees, we're going to scare away the native bees, so we have to be careful there. Yeah, and then we had we had a tomato festival, which was very exciting. It rained all day long, torrential rain, but we got about 50 to 75 people to come out.
Nice.
So that was fun, and we talked about tomatoes, and people, local gardeners brought their own tomatoes, and we cut them all, and we tasted them and sliced them up, and yeah, it was kind of a fun day, in spite of the rain. And then we had the hot pepper eating contest down at the farmers market. That was a lot of fun. We provided all the hot peppers this year. We hope to do the same this year. Let me just say, those people are absolutely insane. When you eat till you literally walk down to the Delaware and regurgitate, that's
I know that you and my wife is working on some kind of concoction
Yeah, we've been
I'm
swapping
the,
hot
I'm the
sauces.
tester at home.
Oh, you are? You
Yeah.
like the hot sauces?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. They're so much fun to grow, and with names like Dragon's Breath and Devil's Serrano, I mean, you can't go wrong, you know. So anyhow, next up we have these are our supporters. We have our volunteer partners are St. Luke's, Lafayette College, will play a big role in helping us to a lot of the work that they do. They have 3 summer interns that come out each year. Hopefully they'll come again this year. We have the Landis Center, which sends out students in the fall and the spring, which kind of bookend our seasons. We have the lacrosse boys. We're having the football boys come this weekend, which is exciting because, you know, some heavy lifting. I wish I had some compost for them to spread, but we'll find something for them. Also, we do special needs in the Northeast. They send out quite a few people. We're also going to have 2 new groups of special needs people coming out this year. So we'll be focusing on that. We have Life Church come out. They offered us a little bit of land last year over in Nazareth, which was nice, but it was just impractical to get all the way out there after being up at Easton all day. But it was very nice of them to offer the land, and they also provided us volunteers. And then our wonderful, wonderful own local people who are our volunteers, who are the bread and butter of the farm. Without them, we wouldn't get a lot of work done. So it's really nice to rely on those people. Our business partners, you can see Crayola, Easton Wine Project, Ardent Mills, Victolic, United Way, Community Bike Works, Seed Farm, Easton Garden Works, and the Greater Easton Development. We work a lot with those guys. High Mowing Seeds sent us a lot of seeds this year for free. They're based in, I think, New England. Nurture Nature Center, of course, and Penn State Ag Extension are a big part of who we partner with. Grant funding, the Buddhist Global Relief, Bray Family Foundation, the county, the state, United Way, and of course the city. And then the city of Easton, which is our biggest partner. These are just some of the things they do: water faucet repair and utilities, mulch deliveries, expansion support, including grants, fruit trimming and care. Rob comes out quite often to help me with the fruit trees, city forester. Installation of our new cooler. They've already poured a concrete pad for that. That's going to be a game changer for us because we were relying on a little small, outdated kitchen fridge, which is completely impractical when you're doing 11,000 pounds of produce. But we got through it. The land use, of course, which is the biggest part. Without the city allowing us to have the land, we wouldn't have a farm. And building maintenance, and then hopefully help us with our expansion and pouring the concrete pad in the future for our greenhouse. So, all good things. So, goals for 2023, I just already touched on breaking in the new cooler. We will continue to produce distribution in the West Ward and the South Side. Our distribution will be a little bit different this year because we're adding Bushkill House. We're adding the mill up on the South Side. We're going to do a little pantry there. And who am I forgetting today? Okay. Of course, the pantry on the South Side. Harlan House, we also deliver to. We're going to continue with our high school internship program. Hopefully we get 4 more high schoolers out this year that will get a paid internship. They will learn farming 3 days a week and do social justice programs 2 days a week in the neighborhood center. So that's been a wonderful addition to our programming. We are starting a senior programming this year. That's going to be huge. It's going to be 5 days a week, 1 day on the farm and at the neighborhood center, and 4 days in various parts of the city. We're hoping with the seniors to encourage them to get out, be more social, so they're not at home alone, and just to be more active in life, to get out, use the raised beds that Crayola built. They're beautiful raised beds if you've never seen them, very colorful. And we want them to come out and learn a bit about gardening, get into their hands in the dirt. They won't have been so far because the beds are raised. And we hope to offer cooking classes and nutrition classes along with that also. Expand the farm footprint, we already talked about. We're going to, we'll show you a slide in a moment. And then install a greenhouse, which is probably won't be this year, but we're talking about it and hoping it gets done. That will really help us with getting our starts off early and growing more healthy plants and extending the season a little. So this is the farm, what it looks like right now. You can see it's 3/4 of an acre, about 5/8 of an acre. What you don't see here is on the left-hand side, to the very left-hand side, we added 6 hazelnut trees. We want to do some nuts. In the very top of the farm, we added more peach trees, so we're going to try and do more fruit because fruit's very hard to get in Pennsylvania, especially in pantries. In the middle, we have about 33 beds in a high tunnel, and that's where we do all our growing. So I think that's the last slide, unless, oh, and sorry, here's what the extension will sort of look like. This here, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. It goes into the tree line. It's not that quite that far. It's back more into the main part of the park. So it will offer us another maybe 1/3 of an acre and allow us to rest the main farm, bring in some cover crops, like I said, that help maintain the vitality. And it's almost a natural flow where the pavilion is and the playground. So the moms who are there with their kids can bring the kids right into the farm. We'll have pollinator-friendly beds at the top end, so the kids can go in and see the flowers and, you know, pick some flowers there with the moms and get a little bit of education while they're out playing on the swing and stuff. So that's it, and it's all very exciting, and we're hoping to have a good year. And thank you all for your time. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Mark?
Yes.
No, any questions?
Oh,
Thank you very much, Mark.
right. Thank you all. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark, before you leave the podium, I just want to thank you. The event you had with the Secretary of Agriculture, I've talked to him several times after that. He still remembers his visit there, and you are definitely producing a lot more per square foot than any other farmer in the Commonwealth. So
thank you.
I want to thank you, and I was more than happy to approve the expansion of the farm, and we'll take care of that playground equipment.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you, City Councilors.
No problem, Mark. Thank you.
I think you've shown what you can really do in an urban setting. I think it's amazing. I don't know how many people in here have actually seen the urban farm, but it's truly a miracle up there. It's just great.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, is public comments on on agenda only. Anyone have a comment out there? Seeing none, we're going to move to the consent agenda.
Under the consent agenda, we have a resolution approving a COA for 137, 139 Northampton Street, a resolution approving a COA for 323, 325 Pine Street, and a resolution approving a COA for 128 North 3rd Street.
I'll move the consent agenda.
I
Move.
second it.
And second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
And Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Thank you.
Reports received by council.
We're done.
I have none. Mayor, do you have any?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Reports of committee. Finance. I have one thing on the agenda this evening, and that is bill number 11, and that's for the general fund. Also, Director Senecki has sent out some information to council, and I hope council received that. And if there are any questions on that, hopefully we can answer that at this time.
Mark, I'm assuming because we haven't received November, December, they're under audit, I'm assuming? Last year we got them, I think, in April. Is that when you think we'll be getting them in?
Yeah, that's probably when we'll have
Okay.
better comfort with those numbers. Yeah.
Okay. Any preliminary you can share, or you'd rather not?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Any other questions? If none, I do want to ask the question, Mayor. I hope I'm correct when I say this. As I'm walking through the city, I'm getting a lot of questions from our seniors in reference to will there be a senior place to go in the future? As we know, we have one downtown, we have one in the Shaw Building, and then the county moved one up in Fort Township. A lot of the seniors that I've talked to are basically saying the same thing. They're lonely because they don't have anything to do. I don't know if the community center is still doing the silver flipper or not. Is that something that we're looking into to do?
The Easton Area Community Center is trying to do as much as they can. They do have a senior history course every Monday and first Monday of the month. But our plan is to site a community center somewhere in the city that has a full-size facility for gymnasium, for basketball, volleyball, both youth and adult programs. And that will have a senior. The plan is now for that to have a senior center in it. So we will definitely, and I'm working with Bob Freeman, who will get us the free lunches that the seniors will have lunch there, as well as activities.
You know the COVID site over there where your dad lives. A lot of the seniors there was wondering if they could utilize the Easton Boys and Girls Club during their downtime. I thought that at one point the executive Dean Young was doing that. I don't know if that still is going through now. That's something that I'm going to check into and ask Dean about.
Yeah, I know Dean is doing a food drive that he goes out and visits all the seniors and makes sure they have food and gives them food that he gets donated from various grocery stores. But I don't know that he was planning. But I could if you check with him.
Yes,
then
I
I'll
will.
check with him as well, see if he's doing anything. That's great.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
So-
But
Just if people do ask you, the recreation department is doing activities for seniors specifically.
okay,
So I know they have on the agenda a field trip that's coming up. We're looking at reoffering art lessons, which those are two of the big items. We did a survey of seniors.
oh yeah, I remember that last year.
And
Yeah.
and from that survey, the top 3 or 4 items on that survey were picked out, and those programs were being developed.
Is there any way, Dr. Ruggles, we can get some information to the seniors over there in Neston Heights? That's where
Yeah,
most of the conversation came from.
yeah. I mean, I believe it's on the website. I didn't double check, but I believe it's on the website. But I'm sure that we could get that information over there.
I do appreciate that. Thank you. Mark, do you have anything you want to go? Okay, economic development, Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Economic Development Department assembled a public art review committee to study the 10 proposals that have come in for the public art that will be in the southeast quadrant in downtown. We had our first meeting last week, last Friday. It was just sort of a kickoff meeting. We're going to have, as yet unscheduled, but more in-depth meetings coming up in the future to look at all of these proposals. Thank you.
No, thank you. Planning and codes, Councilwoman Sultana.
I have no report, Vice Mayor.
No report. Public safety, Dr. Ruggles.
Just want to remind council that, well, not remind you, but let you know that this next committee meeting night, which will be prior to our first meeting in March, is going to have the police or the fire department come and give us kind of an overview of their facilities. They're going to focus primarily on Main and South Side, and just kind of let council know what those facilities look like, what condition they're in, and things like that. So it's just more of an information session for council, but I think it's something that we need to take a look at and start developing plans for how we're going to facilitate facilities for fire department into the future.
And that's based on, we have women firefighters coming on, right?
Yeah.
That'll be March 7th, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we still going to discuss EMS? Is that still part of the discussion?
That was not in it. It was just the facilities for fire and what the current facilities are.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think Mr. Campos had mentioned at last meeting that we were going to discuss EMS. So if we're going to discuss EMS, I'd like to extend the invitation out to the emergency squad.
I think what I had mentioned was just some potential future
Right.
utilizations, and you have to think about it. But I don't think it's a deep dive. I wouldn't recommend. I would recommend that council listens first to hear what the overall conditions and what the potential future needs are,
Okay.
and if council then decides to make a strategy to think that we will go that route, we can certainly dig deeper into it. This is real high level. It's not ready yet to have any further discussions. It's typical first step.
I would say, and I think I agree with you, is that is something that really needs to be discussed. The EMS I'll call it situation throughout the county, actually. I think we need to get a better understanding of where we are and where we need to be.
Right.
And again, I don't know that that's been discussed at a nuts and bolts level, if you will, but I mean, I think we need to get that going.
I don't think you should look. I don't think you should sugarcoat it or shy away from it. It's a national issue.
Oh, yeah.
And communities throughout the country are grappling with how to make their EMS services sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You'd mentioned the county. I briefly discussed it, but I think in this presentation, because I had a chance to review it, and also Mr. Milan, you had asked for a report, a safety report that was conducted 5 years ago. The chief is prepared to address some of those issues, but this presentation is more to give you an idea from a presentation standpoint, to hear the chief, to tell you, what we need to modernize our buildings. And some of these items could lend into other discussions.
So was there a report then, or was there not a report? Like, was there an actual physical report created 5 years ago?
It was a punch list.
Okay. Okay.
And the the chief is going to address it as part of it, because I asked him to.
Okay.
So he said he would.
Perfect.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Earls. Public Works, Councilman Edwinger.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't have a report, but I do have Bill number 12 under new business, which is adjusting the poll fees for this upcoming year. It's modest increases to the poll fees. Pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. Administration, Mr. Milan.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just have a couple items on the agenda, and just want to let council know that I took those items off the consent agenda. I'm sorry, off the new business. Just so for the administration's edification, I read the job description, and I think I want to invite the DA down to our committee meeting to see if we're not duplicating resources. I think the county does provide this type of service. So I kind of want to hear his perspective on kind of how they do it in the county. And maybe we can reach out to Bethlehem and Allentown and see if they have this kind of position within their police department. So it's not that I don't support it or endorse it. I just want to hear from the DA first, and then maybe kind of talk to Bethlehem and Allentown if they have this kind of position too. So I'll reach out to the DA, and I reach out to the chiefs of Allentown and Bethlehem too. That's my report, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you. Reporter Solicitor.
Yeah, even though I reported at the February 8th meeting that we were, upon adjournment, we were going to meet in executive session to update you on negotiations concerning a lease, being the New England Hydro negotiations. I just will reaffirm at tonight's meeting that we did meet following the February 8th meeting for that discussion. And that's all I have to report tonight.
Report from the mayor.
Mayor Panto?
I have no report, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And report of the city administrator, Mr. Campos.
Mr. Brown, I do not have a report for tonight.
Okay, I do know that we're going to be on unfinished business, Bill 35, in reference to parking meters, and I do know someone walked in late. I was going to ask the courtesy of council to allow him to speak because he came in late. Would you like to speak about that? I know you and I had conversations. If you can come. Is that okay with council? If we go out of order like that? He did miss it. I know he was coming.
Please state your name and address.
Absolutely. Ron Morris, 1002 Washington Street, and I'm a business owner downtown, Mercantile Home and Mercantile Outpost. I think I've spoken to everyone. I just wanted to reiterate, I only came tonight just to see where things were because council heard our concerns about extending hours of meters while we were still waiting on the parking garage to be finished. And last I heard is that we're not still going to hit the March date. So I really am just here to reiterate that if there is a way to not add that increase in hours until after we have some good news with parking downtown, I think it would be beneficial. I've had the chance to speak with most of you individually when I've run into you. I certainly hear it from everyone, and I just reiterate the same arguments I've said the last into what I think it does to the overall perception of downtown while we're dealing with all of the construction and all of the parking issues.
Thank you very much for your concern.
Yep.
I mean, if it's okay with council, maybe we can have Mr. Hopkins come up and kind of give us an update on the parking garage since you're here.
I think it's a good idea.
Because it kind of, I'm glad you're here because I was going to basically, if it's not ready, I'm just going to have these bills withdrawn then, but I'll let you kind of explain.
I'm sorry.
The Fourth Street garage.
Yeah, so right now, the only element left to finish the garage really is the elevator. Obviously, there have been delays there, and right now the elevator company is working overtime to try and get that done. Right now, they're thinking the end of April, maybe early May. They can get that done, and then the plaza is supposed to start on Church Street, at least on the schedule we were given last week, next week.
So the plaza will be done in conjunction with the elevator or after the elevator?
Correct.
So we're still looking April-ish?
I would say end of early May.
Okay.
That's according to the last schedule we've gotten from the GC.
And then it will be open to use like right away in April, or?
That's correct, provided we can get the CO, which I don't think is going to be a big deal once the elevator is operational.
Any other question about Mr. Hopkins? Is still
So,
there?
so you're looking at end of April, beginning of May, as far as operational is concerned, or?
I was looking at times over the course of the last 9 months, but obviously we've had some struggles with the GC, and so we and our consulting engineers have been meeting every single week with them to try and get updated schedules and information on whatever parts have been delayed. There's a delay with electrical distribution, and now we're kind of in the home stretch with the elevator. So it's been a fairly frustrating process for everybody.
When did the elevators start installation?
They arrived on site, I think, December 9th or 10th.
I saw them.
And then by the time they were able to get a crew off of another job, they started right after Christmas. And now, that involves a couple of weeks of prep just to get the 6-story elevator, and the things that the workers that work in the shaft need. But they are working, they're working 6 10-hour days to try and expedite the completion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Dave. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
No.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business.
We have Bill 35 that was introduced back in December for Peter Milan, which would amend the Chapter 560 vehicles and traffic, and it has to do with the metered hours and so forth.
So before I move this, just for clarity, we're bringing this back to the table tonight, correct?
Right.
And we're going to vote on this tonight, correct?
This
No.
has been tabled, correct?
All right, but
Yeah.
this is the version now that we're going to throw out.
Which will be thrown out,
So just so I'm clear.
Wow.
and then
Okay.
we will implement bill number 10.
Right.
You'd have to withdraw that one, 35.
Well, okay.
Once we brought it back from the table.
All right, so, Madam Clerk,
Yes.
I'll move it. I'm assuming we need a second then?
Do.
Okay.
We need a second?
Second to bring it back.
Second, Councilwoman.
And then, just for point of where I'm going to withdraw now from the table?
No, we have to
No,
take a vote
we
on
have to
bringing it
vote
back
on it
first.
coming back.
So we'll just let it, okay.
Okay.
So this is just coming back then, just for
Right,
clarity.
it's just
Correct.
coming back.
Okay, just want to make sure we're clear. Okay.
Roll call, please.
All right. Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Now you can
And I
withdraw.
remove it.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to make a motion to withdraw Bill 35.
Motion to
I don't think you need a motion, you can just
No, okay,
withdraw.
then I'm just going to withdraw Bill 35 then.
Right.
Okay, that
Thank you, Dr. Rockwell.
been withdrawn.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we have bill number 9 that would be introduced by Mr. Milan, or was introduced by Mr. Milan, I apologize. And it was an ordinance amending chapter 54 ethics of the code of the city of Easton.
Moved.
Second.
Move. Second. I had
I
a
would
question.
like discussion on that, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I don't understand why it's going to for a committee of the city council to oversee for the penalty. I think it should go to the city clerk, should be the person responsible, since she or he is the person responsible for managing of the city council, that it should go to them, not to a specific committee of city council, because it gives one council oversight over the other council, and I don't think that's right.
And you took the same thing I had, Mayor.
So, Mayor, are you suggesting that the clerk maintains this then?
What was that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What part are you questioning?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's questioning.
I'm questioning that the oversight be by the city clerk, not the administration committee.
What oversight?
Mayor, I'm sorry. Where are you seeing that on the ordinance? I apologize.
At the bottom, it says a council member.
At the bottom, it says, yes, go ahead, Mr. First Mayor.
It's $100 fine.
There's $100 fine.
So you want
That the city clerk should be responsible for getting the certification from every council member annually, not no one else.
And to that point, it's not annually. It's last time we took it like 4 years ago.
well, right. So I think just for clarity, it says in 1A, it's every 2 years that when we reorganize, we have the training session. But I'm not sure the penalty. Like, Mayor, it doesn't say anything about who maintains the penalty. You want to amend it to say the city clerk?
Yeah,
is
I just want to amend it
responsible?
so that the city clerk be responsible for overseeing the implementation of this ordinance.
So it's an amendment to the ordinance, correct?
Yes, correct.
What part are you amending, though?
The penalty phase.
2A.
Just adding a under the section that says penalty, that the city clerk be responsible for maintaining the records of who has completed their requirements and who hasn't.
I mean, okay.
Any
Joel.
council members? So right now
It's
it
on page
reads,
29.
any
PDF.
council member who violates any provision of this ordinance shall be subject to a fine of $100. Are we adding a part B where it would say that the city clerk is?
I mean, let's see
Exactly.
what he says. I mean, if you don't mind.
Yeah, if I may, Section E indicates that the council will obtain a certificate of completion and submit the certificate within 1 month of attendance to the city clerk.
Right.
Is your microphone on, Joel?
Yeah, maybe I'm. So it looks like the Easton City Clerk is already involved in this process. So I'm not quite sure where the section is on oversight.
He's saying
That was-
2A
Okay.
should be amended to say that the city clerk is responsible for collecting the payment or the fine. That's what the mayor's recommending.
Oh,
Isn't that the same thing?
I mean, I mean,
That's correct.
So you want for a B to be added that the city clerk will be responsible to maintain the records and collect the fine?
From those who do not get certified, correct.
Yes.
According to those who do not comply with the ordinance.
Joel.
I'm just thinking that if you were going to reword it for that purpose, language such as any council person who fails to submit the certificate as required in 1E above shall be issued a fine of $100 shall be issued a fine of $100 to be overseen by the city clerk, something like that.
I think that's good.
That's the answer.
Do I have to reintroduce this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This is pure, I mean, to me, it's just purely administrative.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you. So.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's always good, I don't want to jump out at an answer, so just thinking it out.
Sure.
What we don't ever want to do is change something that has a real is really substantive in nature, or somebody would come here to object if they knew about it. I can't, this seems totally administrative, so I think it doesn't change what
I
the
think it
public
just
needs to know.
clarifies, that's all it does.
It just
doesn't
creates
change
it helps create the process, but we already
Correct.
have, the notice to the public is that we have these these requirements, and that the council people who fail to abide can be fined $100.
Fair enough.
And the
Right.
gist hasn't changed,
Thank
Joel,
you.
can you give me that verbiage tomorrow morning?
maybe.
Well, I want to make sure it's correct.
I'll try to do it now.
Okay, you can do that and then I'll get it done.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
So
so,
what's the status of it then?
well, now that we made that change, we just need to take a vote on it, correct?
Correct. That's what we are now.
We would need
Everybody?
that as an amendment.
Amendment to it, the change. So, we need a
You
vote.
know, I'm all for ethics training. I've been through several of them myself, and I just don't think that we should be attaching penalties to it. I think we haven't even made them available yet. I think that that's something that we could get voluntary compliance with.
I tend to agree with that also. I'm wondering if this has always been there. I don't quite remember, but I do know that we also put a letter out or so to our brothers and sisters communities that they can come and sit in on that also. So, my question is then, is that $100 has that always been there?
This is brand new.
Okay,
This is not part of our ordinance.
okay.
I mean, it's an incentive. To me, it's incentive for all of us to go through the training every 2 years. I mean, if we did this on a committee
But we
night-
haven't even offered them to this point, and I think if we do, I think that this council would be pretty compliant.
Well, I mean, but then if we're compliant, there's no fine then.
The only thing I worry about, if for any chance a council member can't make it, what do they do from there? They get a $100 fine.
Well, no, it's 1D. I
No,
mean, if you look at
there's-
1D,
Yeah.
it clarifies.
A council member
concern.
under attention meeting.
I mean, I think the whole
Emergency,
point of this is
okay.
that we bring somebody here into the city. God bless you. I'm sorry, did you sneeze? I apologize.
I think we should do that regardless, but
If you can, you might, I mean, one suggestion would be have that session videotaped and allow the council person who is excused under 1D to watch it and obtain the certificate in that fashion.
That's a great idea,
Sure.
Joel.
And that you could just do administratively. You don't have to build it into this.
Yeah.
If I may, I just want to read the exact language I'm going to give Rita for 2A.
Of course.
So replacing 2A as submitted would be, any council member who fails to provide the certificate as set forth above shall be subject to a fine of $100, assessment and payment of which is to be monitored by the city clerk.
Fair enough.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's actually better than this, because the way this one reads, if the chairperson of the administration committee didn't schedule the meeting, they would be subject to a fine of $100 also.
Oh,
So-
any provision, right, any provision is,
So I like that one better.
See down. See how strict I am? I'm going to
So,
impose my fine on myself.
on 1A, are we taking out the administration committee chairperson?
No,
No, no,
That's going to stay in, it's going to stay with
nothing's
conjunction
changing
of.
for 2A.
Okay,
So we have to do a vote on the
Well,
amendment portion of it?
I need a motion and a second for an amendment.
I move the solicitor's recommended language.
I'll second it.
Has been moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
no.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Okay, and then back to the other one. Now we're going to vote on the amended one. Mr. Milan made a motion, Mrs. Sultana seconded it.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor I'm sorry, Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
No.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana,
Aye.
and Mayor Panto.
Aye. Although I will say that I agree with Mr. Ettinger, I can't understand why we would put this into an ordinance. Any council member who doesn't do this or elected official who doesn't do it is being irresponsible. But I'll vote for the ordinance so it doesn't look like I'm against ethics. Ethics is a personal issue, not something that can be mandated.
New business?
We have bill number 10 being introduced by Mr. Milan, which it would amend chapter 560. It has to do with parking meter hours, and it was a replacement of bill 35 because they added in to the courthouse parking, which the hours are different.
So, before I introduce this, is there an appetite just to withdraw this and wait until we're closer to the garage being completed?
I would tend to go with that, Mr. Milan.
I'm sorry, yeah, what's that?
I would tend to go with that myself.
All right, then, Mayor, what do you think?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and withdraw the bill then, please.
Okay?
Would you be then putting it on the table?
No, we're going to
I'm going to withdraw it completely.
Oh, and they're going to reintroduce it whenever the time comes.
As we get closer.
I'm
And,
just
and,
waiting on it.
and yeah, and the only suggestion, if you do want this in place by spring, you know, assuming, I don't want to assume anything at this garage, but if the garage is completed on May Day, and and yes, so you can remember the ordinance will require an introduction and then 2 weeks and then 30 days before it becomes effective. So you're basically going to want to consider reintroducing this either in the first meeting in March or the second meeting in March.
Well, I think my only concern is if we can get more frequent updates from the administration regarding the status of the garage, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
So maybe for the next meeting, we can get another update.
Yeah,
Instead of withdrawing it every 2 weeks?
yeah, I mean, you do have the other option of doing an amendment to say the effective date will be based on further resolution of council, you know.
Yeah, I'd rather just watch.
Okay,
withdraw at this
whatever,
point.
you-
It's cleaner,
Yeah,
so.
that's fine. I mean, it's your show. I mean, it's really.
No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's just, at this point, it's just
Yeah.
cleaner. So,
So we're withdrawing bill number 10.
it's withdrawn.
And you'll let me know later on when you want it
Yep.
introduced. Okay. We have bill number 11 being introduced by Mr. Brown, which would amend the 2023 general fund budget.
Move to approve. And just, I'm sorry.
And we have bill number 12 being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, which would amend the 2023 pool fees.
So introduced.
And then now we have a COA approval or a recommendation to approve a COA for 1-6 Center Square. It's the proposal to approve the design and materials of the 7-story hotel at that address.
So moved.
Move.
Second.
And second. Any discussion on the matter?
Yeah. Reading into this resolution, I don't see the developer or any of the representatives for the developer here. Do we know if they're knocking the building down with this project?
If I may, from my understanding, and this is why I've urged city council members to attend planning commission meetings, because you're missing the real keys of this development. The presentation at the planning commission, I don't know what the HDC saw,
Right.
is the building is coming down completely, but they are going to retain the facade and store it separately, and then they're rebuilding that facade back into the structure, to the new structure of the new building.
So in other words, they keep the historical.
They're going to keep that historical front of the Judson Bricker building.
And the ceramic tile, right.
And then they're going to, that's going to be then incorporated into the facade, but they're basically going to build this building from scratch. So you got a new building, and then I wouldn't be surprised if this is what they did in Lancaster with the Marriott Hotel. I mean, because I seem to
remember that.
remember when they were building it, it looked to me like they had, that they built it from the ground up, but they have the old brick front from whatever was there before the Marriott.
Well, it's similar to what Hearst did.
Yeah,
Only they didn't take it,
Yeah,
they didn't
they didn't
disassemble it and take it away. They left it in
Yeah,
place.
I mean, one of the things
Jordan.
with these HDC ordinances, the applicant really never shows up unless they've been denied, because they don't have any reason to. But it would be interesting for city council to see these presentations, because it's pretty interesting to me to watch the whole thing. It was even more interesting to me to find that there's
In our
no-
meetings with Jeff
no
Martinson, you're absolutely correct, Joel. They are taking the building down because it's not structurally sound. They've already done the underground, under the sidewalk. They've repaired that when we were doing the center square. That was falling apart. The concrete under there was a part of the basement. So I agree that the HDC, the only reason it went back to HDC was because it required them to come back with other materials and suggestions that the HDC made. All the recommendations the HDC made were incorporated into the new design, but they will be retaining all the ceramic tile and building the Judson bricker to look exactly like it looks.
for those ground levels.
Right.
So what are they gonna do
First and
above that?
second level.
They're building
And
it's a new building.
It's a new building up there.
The whole building is a new building.
He means first floor level.
Yeah, first
The
floor.
current
That's what I
level.
meant.
Yeah.
It's a brand new
there's two
building.
floors
They're just they're just retaining and reusing the original materials, or the materials that are there now, for the front of that first floor.
To make it look as
Well,
though it's
yeah.
never been going.
It will.
But,
It looks.
but actually, it's more than just the first floor.
First and
Two-
second.
two
Over the
floors.
first floor in the corners at one center square is 2 floors,
Okay,
and then next
yeah.
to it is 3 or 4 floors. But they're incorporating all of that into the new building.
Dr. Rocco?
I spoke to 2 of the HDC members, and they were totally blown away by this building. They felt that it was amazing, and so I have fairly good confidence that what's being proposed here is something that will be very appropriate to our center square.
But I guess my bigger concern is, isn't the HDC, don't we try to retain the building without demolishing it? Is that kind of the whole intent of the building, the actual ordinance?
And you're absolutely right, but I thought I heard the mayor just say that the structure underneath wasn't sound. Therefore, they had to take that and redo it and then build up upon that.
I mean, I would agree with you to a point. I think the other issue is, I mean, if it's not structurally sound, they're also adding 6 more levels. I think that's why it's not structurally sound, because the foundation is probably not.
Well, that's the reason why they have to
That's why they have to
take
tear it
down what's already
Yeah, I
there.
mean, was that part of the original discussion?
Well, I mean, the Historic District Commission is basically looks at what is visible from the street. And so if what is basically there right now is going to be replaced,
Right.
there is no change in that historic portion of the building. I mean, as far as visible from the street is concerned, what's being changed is the structural integrity of the building, right?
Right, but I'm on the impression the HDC, like, the purpose of it is that we don't demolish buildings, though. I think that's my.
If I may, I'll share with you the
Please.
picture this is from the Easton Planning Commission meeting back.
Oh, I thought you meant the ordinance.
No.
I don't need to see the picture, but thank you, though.
Oh, really?
I'm more
Could I
concerned
see
with
it? Could I see it?
Yeah.
the.
It's really kind of neat.
Okay.
Yeah, let's turn this around.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's that picture in there for real. It doesn't really change much at all.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's massive. I mean, it's bigger now, isn't it? Yeah. I mean,
That-
and this went through zoning,
It went,
planning and zoning?
I don't even know that it needed any let me see if it needed zoning approval. It went through planning commission.
Right.
That's
Is
what
there any
everybody,
issues
It
with
did
the
go,
park,
it
with
did go
parking
to
though?
zoning. It was approved by zoning, it was approved by planning, it was approved by the HGC.
yeah, they did an as of right development. I'm not aware,
No.
I shouldn't say anything. The resolution does not reference zoning. It is possible that there were zoning issues early on that they addressed. But I know they didn't require any parking, which,
Right.
because that's what our district has.
It's the,
Oh, yeah, great, okay, there was no off-street parking is proposed, and a variance was granted for this requirement. So,
no off-street parking was requested?
no off-street is proposed, and a variance was granted for this requirement.
Are they buying
Where are they getting the parking from then?
parking in the new garage on Pine Street?
There was, like, I questioned
They
it.
have a variance.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I asked that, I questioned that, and the sentiment was that they'll figure it out.
I hope so.
Because it'll affect, if they can't figure it out, it's gonna impact their business, so they'll
The
smart people and
private
they'll figure
sector
it
will
out.
figure out if they can't rent their rooms because of no parking, they'll figure it out. I just parked down in Washington a month ago at the Capitol Hilton, and the guy told me, he said, listen, if you need your car, call me at least 30 minutes ahead because our parking garage is 3 blocks away. They'll figure it out. I mean, that's what they do. They're in business. This is a businessman who's very successful. He'll figure it out. The variance was granted by the zoning hearing board. A plan was approved by the planning commission. This is a good development for the city. I don't know why we're being so negative about it. I don't even know why it was pulled off the consent agenda. This is exactly what we want for our center square, and it's a great building. It's exactly what the HCC recommended, and they got the developer did everything they wanted. I mean, I wish I had all developers like that.
Mayor, I just want to talk about it. I mean, I wasn't looking to start a massive argument about it. I didn't know that the HCC was going to approve something to be demolished. That's all. I was in the impression that HCC doesn't really want to demolish any buildings.
No, HCC is looking to see what is being built in its place. Just like the residence hall in Lafayette College wouldn't be a Butler building. They would never, if they had an HCC up in College Hill, we would never have approved a Butler building, but it's brick, it's historic, it's the size. HCC looks at size, scale, and mass and design. Just like they approved the building up on next to the central fire station. They changed the first 2 floors, but the rest of the floors and the other upper floors are the same as it was. The HCC approved that. It's new construction. They approve all new construction. They approve the Seville. They approve the Marquis, the Confluence. I mean, Historic Preservation Department of Interior Standards has standards for old buildings that you're preserving and new construction. This follows the Department of Interior guidelines for new construction.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on.
Okay, so the mayor moved, Dr. Ruggles seconded. I just need to take a vote on the approval of the COA for 1-6 Center Square.
Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto. I'm sorry,
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana, what was your vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
No.
All right, we had resolution approving a job description and a resolution amending the salary and wage. They were removed from the agenda.
Just a quick question.
Mhm.
Is this position just recently added?
I'm sorry, what?
The position victim,
No.
crime victim advocate?
That was talked about some time ago, as we was looking to put a job description in there. I think our administrative, Mr. Campos, could talk more to that about the job description itself.
The victim's advocate position, it was on the agenda for your approval. It's been taken off the agenda so we can discuss it in committee per Mr. Milan's request.
No, but I'm
The
just
victims
asking,
advocate
is this
position
a
has been
new
talked about,
position?
Mr. Sultana,
It
for a
is a
year and
new
a half.
position.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And with the reason why we're putting our own in is because we have victims in the city who need assistance, that the county's not available. The county doesn't send people out, as I understand it. When we have a victim like a domestic, we have children who are witnessing things that shouldn't be witnessing, and no one there to take care of them. And the county doesn't come out on overtime to take care of that. So we need someone who's going to be with our own department who can do the counseling and in this case, in the case of a domestic, taking care of the kids until the county opens up. That's the reason, and we've been working with the NAACP and the Lehigh Valley
Correct.
Justice Institute on this for at least a year. We finally got a job description that everyone approved of, and it can wait 2 weeks, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so them two items will wait for 2
They
weeks.
were removed from the agenda.
Okay, removed. Okay. Thank you, clerk.
Public comment.
Public comment? Anyone? Please state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
I need a minute or two. I just read the New York Times.
Art,
My name's
I-
Artie Ravitz, 144 Church Street. Sorry.
It's all right.
I just saw in the New York Times today, or yesterday, I'm not sure, 1,000 train wrecks have occurred in the U.S. in the last year. I think, I guess, Mr. Ruggles, you ought to get your emergency crews together and think about the possibility of us having a train wreck and what the city's going to do about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rabbits. We've not had any co-op
What was that, Mayor?
Northern Suffolk. Or
Can't hear you, Mayor.
oh, I'm sorry. We've had nothing but Southern has not been as receptive. Now, governor's involved in the issue out in Ohio, and Pennsylvania's involved because we're so close to our border, within 20 miles. Governor Shapiro's involved. That's the kind of action we needed because we have the same dangerous materials coming through our city. They're not maintaining their tracks, and that's what's causing the derailments. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. But we have been working with our police. Our firefighters are trained in handling a situation like that. But unfortunately, as a person who lives right above the hill from that railroad track, it hits home very quickly. And I want you to know that our fire department is prepared to address a train derailment, but it's up to Norfolk Southern to start maintaining their lines.
Okay, thanks, Mayor.
I've had discussions with our fire chief multiple times about that, and we actually are not only concerned about the rails that are coming through here, but we're also concerned about Route 22. You know, because we got truck traffic that's coming through here on very sharp curves.
That's right.
Right, and so they're very aware of it. You know, I've talked to them about training and equipment and so forth. A lot of their response to me was, if there's a major thing, we go to the county emergency management, and so that gets kicked to the county, who has better resources because they're covering the entire county. So just so you know, I've been talking about it multiple times.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
I think the only thing that I could add is that the city, we're fortunate that we do have a professional fire department.
Right.
So these are full-time employees.
Right.
And to your point, Dr. Ruggles, there is a hazmat team with the county. Not to say that the resources aren't enough. I mean, what's happening in Ohio is a travesty. But at least for one, we're talking about it, and two, we do have a professional department, meaning they're full-time.
Who does multiple training events a year, right?
Right.
The federal government also has to do something because the rails have exemption under
On the federal government.
so.
And to the mayor's point, I think in the federal government has been making this point clear. I think it's time that our community as a whole or nationally, we look at we look at rail management differently, and there needs to be, I think, more accountability as the mayor had mentioned too.
Right.
Okay. Next, please.
Frank Pinnabone, 1107 West Berwick Street, Easton. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, so if you don't want to hear from me, blame Councilman Milan. But zoning, planning, city council, I was the only one to vote no on the hotel because of the parking. We given a lot of things away to developers to bring him in over the years, and I thought it was important, and we needed to do that to bring the development in. We don't have to give things away anymore. They're trying to come in. Something should have been done, and I asked them at planning to put a plan together for parking, whether it be valet, shuttle service, something. It wasn't done. I don't know what you guys can do at this point, but if there's a way that you make them come up with a parking plan before they start building, I think that's very important. I disagree. I know the mayor, we've had this conversation about the private sector will figure it out. But we can't wait to see if they do and if they figure it out right. By the time they build this big building, 75 hotel rooms, 125 person banquet hall, 2 restaurants. If they don't figure it out or don't figure it out to the benefit of the local businesses and the residents, it's too late to change it now. So what I wanted to see at planning, and I was told we couldn't, and maybe you guys can, I don't know if it's too late, make them come up with a parking plan before they build. It's not a hardship for them. If they want to do it, they'll do it.
If I may, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't even want to qualify as unfortunately because I just want to make an observation from a legal perspective. They have their approvals. There's nothing you can do to change this, and our zoning ordinance. So you have to take a look at the zoning ordinance and consider changing it, because right now that entertainment business zone doesn't require parking. And that's where you have to look for. I don't know what future development there may be there, but you got the other corner, catty corner, someone could go up there one day. So, that's where you're going to have to make changes going forward if you're concerned with this particular issue. But it's too late now. The maitre d' is out of the restaurant.
I would tend to think, though, Joel, that they would do like you do and let's take Philadelphia, for instance. They got hotels downtown in their city hall area, and basically what they do is they shuttle them cars to a garage. And
The valet parking option apparently was, we talked about it very little, because apparently at one point I had heard that they were going to address this with valet parking, but that wasn't offered. It's very likely it's going to happen. I mean, because I don't know how else they're going to drop people off without picking up the car. But
if we have to go to.
If I could just butt in here, Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, let me just point out that they are replacing a venue that attracted between 700 and 900 guests at some of their biggest concerts, and we didn't have a problem with parking.
Yeah, and that was a point that was made during the Planning Commission presentation.
If it has to go to zoning to be changed in the future, if it has to go to be zoning to change in the future, that's fine.
That's where we have
maybe, and that'd be great. Maybe the administration or council can speak with the builder. He owns a lot of properties in downtown. Maybe he'll be willing to listen and help us out. We did mention that. I mentioned the valet, and it was kind of shrugged off. And I spoke to every business downtown. They're very concerned about this. So maybe there's a way, even if it can't be done, forced done. Maybe somebody can talk to him and just maybe he'll consider doing it.
About the only thing you can do is, if there's double parking, really enforce it. I'm serious. That's that was one of my concerns with that, especially with the one-lane traffic now. People jumping off there to go into the hotel. How's that set up? So, but the only way, you want to be friendly to business, you want to be friendly to guests. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. But we're a long way off from the opening of the doors, and I'm sure the conversation will go on. Just as the mayor pointed out, just because the business people want to have a successful business, so they're going to have to figure out how to accommodate that.
But we also have a unique situation in the downtown where we have so many buildings that take up 100% of the lot that they're built on.
Right.
And if they all were required parking, all those businesses, all those buildings would be empty.
Well, what would happen is you You would stop any new development unless that development incorporated parking, like 3 of the projects we have going on right now.
And most of them couldn't accommodate that without tearing a building down.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. There's no way to do it unless it's designed into a new development plan.
Please.
Hi, my name is Trudy Miller. I'm a homeowner in the city of Easton for 45 years. I've lived here for 59 years.
What is your address, ma'am?
909 Spring Garden Street in the West Ward.
And it's Trudy Miller?
Trudy A. Miller, correct.
Thank you.
Okay. I've worked all my life, okay? I paid property taxes in this city. I've never had a problem. I was just wondering why my soul was sold to Portnoy Law Associates to collect a debt for my property taxes when they charge me $145 a month, okay, when I don't pay it. I struggle. I'm on Social Security. I set up a payment plan of $200, okay, $100 a month. I sent them $200 in 2020 of November. I get a statement 2 months later, my tax bill was $910. I make a $200 payment. You know what my tax bill was 2 months later? $920. How, when I make a $200 payment, I get a $10 increase in the tax bill 2 months later? How's that possible? How's anybody ever supposed to pay their taxes and catch up to pay them on time? I wouldn't be charged these penalties if I was able to pay my taxes on time. Fine. I don't have the opportunity to catch my taxes up because somebody's charging me $145 a month until my taxes are paid. A $200 payment. My bill goes up $10. What happened to the $200 I just gave you? Oh, they took $160 for attorney fees. I didn't hire no attorney. I didn't ask for their service. They're retained by the city of Easton to collect the debt. They got paid or whatever by the city of Easton. Why are they charging me $145 a month attorney fees and then $50 to set up a payment plan? What the heck is going on here? What are we doing to the people, the residents of Easton that are low income and have difficulty paying their property taxes? We hang them out to dry? I mean, is it a suppression thing to keep these people down so they can never catch up on their taxes? So Portnoy can make money because that's their business? Okay? Without me, they'd be out of business. So are they hired by the city of Easton to suppress us low-income people from never catching up on our taxes so Portnoy can always make money off of us? How am I supposed to catch my taxes up if I'm being charged like that? Make a $200 payment, not a dime comes off my bill, it goes up $10. Where's the logic? Do the math. Talk to people.
These guys will solve your problem. Ask who to talk to.
They retained Portnoy Law Associates. For what reason? There was nothing wrong with the system prior to that. Okay? Why would you sell my soul to somebody like that? You're supposed to look out the best interest of the residents of Easton. Not just the rich people, the poor people too. That's what I'm trying to find out now. What are they going to do about it to help me catch up on my property tax? That's all I'm asking, because I'm never going to be able to do it like this.
Trudy, I suggest that, one, you set up a plan with the city, or you set up a plan with Portnoy? Okay.
Right.
I suggest that you do call them, and also, Louis, would you help us through some of that? Or Mark, reach out to the city and maybe talk to our director of finance so that see if there's any way we can help you, Trudy. And after the meeting, if you can stay for a bit, we'll get you the numbers so that you can call, okay?
There's a lot more involved than just what I just said about the $200.
And
It's a lot more
and-
than that.
And Trudy, I think I remember you from living on by City Hall when you was younger.
Yeah, I went to Wolf School.
Yeah.
Mr. Panto was my 5th grade.
Yeah. You heard that, Mr. Panto. Okay, thank you for coming. We do appreciate it, and we'll try to help where we can help you at. Sir.
Ron Morris, 1002 Washington Street. I just, sorry to follow that and bring us back to the conversation about zoning for the developments. I was here during that appeal for a, what do we call it? A variance. Thank you so much. I was here for that night. And I do remember them being asked about what was going to happen, and they said they were going to use the public garages. And one of the conversations that I know people continue to have is how often is that if they're applying for a variance? And that's, I mean, again, Mr. Mayor, I know they are good business owners. There's no question about any of that. I just know we continue to grow. And at what point do we stop offering variances on things that we've decided are necessary to keep us covered for all of these parking issues? Because in the long term, eventually we keep growing, it's going to be an issue, and everyone can't continue to say they're going to park in the garages, because then we're just going to have to keep building more garages.
And
Like, you know, as
you got a
city,
good
so-
point there, and that actually comes from zoning. That's where that should be taken at, because when they get to us, they've already passed it.
And as a citizen, who do I talk to say to zoning, like, you know, these variances? It's like, how, if we have all the ordinances, then we just say yes to variance after variance. It concerns me a little bit, so I just want to make sure that we're talking about people.
The whole process is dynamic.
Right, sure.
We constantly have changes. You know, who knows what building's going to be offered next, you know? And I think that, at least my impression, that the administration has kept very cognizant of what the parking demand is, okay? And those numbers are constantly calculated. So, you know, we get a new facility, new building, okay, where are we with parking? And
That's
so,
great to know. And just, and for us as citizens, who is it that does that constant calculating on?
The administration.
Administration
does,
is always sort of looking at what we need next, depending on all the.
Yeah, and I mean, those numbers, they change all the time, you know, and I think it's very, very much recognized that, you know, parking is kind of the driving force here, you know, for a lot of downtown.
Dynamic
And it's not, it's not unrecognized at all. Let me just assure you of that. Okay.
Again, like I said, I just hearing that conversation, I remember that the tone that night when I was listening to them apply for a variance, everyone was very enthusiastic about their business, and there didn't feel like there was a lot of probing as to what was going to do with parking. It was just acknowledged that they were going to focus on it, and that, you know, the garages were going to be utilized in some way, whatever those were, whether it was valet or what have you.
Right.
So, you know, and so I just wanted to make sure that where all those pieces come together.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you for your time.
Ma'am, please state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
I will be faster than that. My name is Ginger Petrie. My address is 2626 Reddington Road, which is actually in the town of Hellertown.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Petrie is P-E-T, R as in Robert, I-E.
Thank you.
So I'll be as brief as possible. The only reason I'm bringing this issue up that I'm going to be talking about is because we have concerns that I will be talking about that involve your city because of the Lehigh River and all the activities that are on the river. In the town of Hellertown and in Lower Saucon Township, we're having an issue right now. The Bethlehem landfill has now purchased from the city of Bethlehem an extra 275 acres of forest that's on the side of a mountain. In this, the Bethlehem landfill has already changed with our council from rural agriculture to light industrial. The next thing on the agenda on February 27th, there's going to be a public hearing, which is why I'm here. There's going to be a public hearing to discuss changing their category from special exception to conditional use. That's the next step that the landfill has to do in order to be successful with their expansion. The third thing they're going to have to do, there are conservation easements on this property that have been run with the land even when they purchased the land. And they're planning on doing away with those easements to protect the property from actual businesses like the landfill. Once that's done, they're going to continue with what they have presented already to our planning board at Lower Saucon. I'm trying to talk fast so I can get my 5 minutes. They are planning on a phase 5 expansion on the side of the mountain, which includes 117 acres of forest. So they will be planning on clear cutting in order to expand this landfill. I'm representing the Citizens for Responsible Development. We have a website. We're trying to fight that. I could leave you some information on that a little bit later. What we're asking is this. we have a situation where the Bethlehem sewer takes up all their leachate and all their liquids from the dump. That is not filtered correctly in the sense of pharmaceuticals, radioactive material. If you were to look at our website, we have lots and lots of facts on what's coming in. So more than 60% of the trash that's coming into this landfill is from New Jersey and New York City. It's not local trash. Most of the local people that collect trash can't even afford to go into this landfill. Our real concern not only is for the animals and the land and the clear cutting and the steep slopes and the people that are going to be affected with their wells, because all of this material is going to be coming downhill. We also have a problem with them going to be polluting the Lehigh River, which is now going to pollute the Delaware River, and it's going to affect everything that happens with you on your recreation. You have a wonderful shad tournament. You have people that have concerts, and you have all sorts of wonderful stuff. Now, this landfill, you think it's in your backyard, and you think it's far away, but my property from the town of Easton is only 3.7 miles. Okay, and this landfill is going to be bordering my property. I have over 200 acres of farmland and forest combined. So I have a personal interest because they're going to be ruining my property. They're also going to be ruining all the people's properties that are downhill and all the wells and everything else. So I'm trying to be fast about this. I just brought a few
Take your
pictures.
time. Take your time.
Okay.
You're fine.
Part of our problem is that our council, we have had meetings where we have over 140 people speaking with very important facts, not just me. Mine is a little bit of an emotional toil. But we have a lot of people that are talking about all the facts, all the millions of gallons that are coming into the Bethlehem plant that they cannot filter, all the pharmaceuticals and things like that. We have heard all these facts about radioactive material. They have monitors that come in and check the garbage trucks as they come in. When they find the radioactive material, they're not allowed to leave. They have to dump it on site. Now, we even asked the question when they were going over their proposal, do you have a specific place to put this radioactive material? And they said, no, we put it wherever we're dumping at the time. So this is a concern for us who are trying to block this situation. We're fighting someone from Texas, and it's a very large company. So the likelihood of us stopping them is going to be a little tough, but we are trying to ask for people in the nearby towns, Bethlehem Township, to please become aware of what's happening, and maybe through letters or people of power, you could at least have an opinion on this, and maybe we can try to sway our council into stopping it. That's my timer, right?
Yep, that's your timer.
I just want to show you a few pictures, and then I'll get out of your way. This is a drone picture from the top of the landfill, and maybe people out here would like to see it too.
Could you speak into the microphone,
I'm
though,
sorry.
ma'am? That's okay.
The top of the landfill is right here, okay? And it's pointing toward where Route 33 and Route 78 are. So this is pretty much north with a little bit of an east turn. This area is Bethlehem Township. You've also got Lowe's, and I know that's a little out of your jurisdiction, but I just wanted to give you an idea on the location. This is the tillable ground for my farm, and I'll show you another picture. This is an idea of what the side of the mountain looks like in forest. This is a picture just to show you from the top of the landfill how close it is to the Lehigh River. Okay, so things are emptying out into the Lehigh River. So there's no way when you have the DNL trail fighting this, I'm sorry, I keep talking, should I be quiet? Because my timer went off.
It's up to them.
Okay, may I continue
Yes.
for a few minutes? Okay, the DNL trail has stood up and fought our council on this. The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission has written a letter that says they don't agree with doing this. We have historic district in the proving grounds right outside of Steel City. They have national recognition. If people want to register, they're blowing that off and they're coming right down into it. So I'm trying to say that we're really hitting a brick wall here. Now this is the landfill looking toward Freemansburg and Bethlehem Township. And we're actually hoping that maybe we can get St. Luke's to help us too. And the last picture I'll show you is just the area. This is the landfill, okay? And this is my property. There's a pipeline that is a line delineation between what was the Bethlehem grounds and what are woods, where we have the side of a mountain, 100 acres of woods. Okay, and this is just how thick the forest is. This is an example. This continues all along the mountainside. You can see the whole thing from if you sat at Panera's parking lot. You can see it, the whole mountainside that's ahead of you. So we're actually hoping maybe St. Luke's is going to join our fight. This is what they're going to clear cut, 117 acres. And you can see how steep the slopes are. So that means the liquid that comes off the mountain is heading straight down to the Bull Run, and that runs right into the Lehigh River, which runs into your Delaware. So I would appreciate it if any of you could just start to become aware a little bit about what's happening in your backyard, and maybe you can consider helping us.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Something-
time.
Much for your time.
Something specific you would wanted us to do? I mean, we're aware, I think
if-
everybody here is aware of that landfill
Oh, you are
problem,
aware? Okay.
But, it's not directly affecting Easton at the moment,
Correct,
so.
at the moment. But like I said, I think the distance from this landfill, between what's going to happen when they come to, once they ruin the land, it's done.
Mhm.
That's the hard part. The hard part is trying to stop them before it's ruined. But you're going to have the smell. I mean, we already have the smell. And your Humar Park is literally only 5 miles from that. Now, you've put a lot of money in that, a lot of time, you know, and that's in the process of going up. We were in front of the Northampton County Council, and we've got Tara, there's a woman, Tara Lipinski, I think is her last name, and she's spoken at her council meetings as well, because and all the environmental people are all upset about this. So here's what I would like, if you can, and I know it's short notice, but we have a hearing. It's a fire company, CYCO, I think it's called. It's on 378. It's one of our Lower Saucon fire companies. That is going to be on the 27th. They're having this hearing on, it's on a Monday morning, so it could be as inconvenient as possible. And we're having as many people, we're having some attorneys speak, we're having some experts come that we've hired attorneys and we've hired experts, environmental experts to try to come. But the fact that you're going to be affected in your recreation at some point because of this, we would like any of you that you can to come and speak. And if you do, because it's a public hearing, you'd have to ask for standing, which would be smell and ruining of the water if you need something. I'm sure you guys can figure that part out. This is kind of my first rodeo, but like I said, I have a personal interest, but I'm really concerned about all the people that are downhill. I'm a little bit to the east on my property, so I'm not as concerned about my particular well, but everyone that's past me. And Steel City already has such polluted water that years ago they had to bring in public water because it wasn't possible to drink it. So I just don't think that something like this can continue and ruin our beautiful land.
I just want to let you know, I'm aware of that, and I'm planning on writing a letter to the council.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm also involved about the thing that they're doing with Dixie Cup. I laid my plan and I sent them a letter. So I just wanted to put it out, like we are aware of that and
Thank
we're
you.
working on it. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate you listening and
Absolutely.
giving
I
me
think in
extra
addition to what Mrs. Sultana said, I think we can actually create a resolution opposing the project as a council.
Yes, absolutely.
can?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can.
do that.
Thank you very much.
We have a very talented solicitor who can take words and
Make
be
it
very
nice.
creative. He can
Thank you.
actually.
We
Although-
got a letter from Robert Freeman and they ignored it.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much.
sure.
I would appreciate anything.
I would suggest that a committee of council investigate and I mean, I truly appreciate the presentation,
Yeah.
but I don't know any details. And if the city is going to take any action, it really needs to do a little bit of investigation to find out more about it so we could act intelligently when I then help phrase a resolution one way or another. So you know, that might be your first step, is to figure out what is an appropriate committee. It could be planning, and then to ask people such as your group to come and speak
Yes,
at a
sir.
committee meeting to explain exactly what's involved, and maybe invite the applicant to explain what the project's like and what's put into place. Because
So what is the timeline on the things that you were mentioning? Because I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
you said the
I'm throwing it
27th,
out
I
there.
mean, is,
Right. what
I
happened?
mean, that's next week.
I know, I
You
know that, I know that.
And I mean, us forming a committee and just
Right.
figuring it all out, by that time,
Well, right, in these steps, the very, originally, our solicitor said this would be a slow process. And what happened was, we heard about it, we heard the little bit of the blurb that it might be happening in October. By the November council, they were already talking about the fact that they were going to have a hearing in December. They did it on the 21st in order to change it to rural agriculture. That was step one.
Right.
So we didn't even, it was purchased by the landfill in September. October, we heard a little blurb. The only reason I personally knew were because the hunters were thrown off the farm and they came to my farm to see if they could hunt. That's the only reason I knew.
Yeah.
That I had a new neighbor. Okay, so then we had a big hearing. We had over 140 people on December 21st. But the council right in front of us ignored the people and voted to go forward with changing the zoning. That was the first step. By last month, that's when they talked about now we're going to have a hearing on the conditional use, because that takes a lot of the responsibility of the township away, puts it on DEP. Now, if we had had a really good response with DEP, we probably wouldn't be as nervous and upset. But we have people calling every day, many times a day, about the odor, about the mud, about the smell, and nothing happens. It's all recorded. Oh, yeah, poo-poo. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. Once in a while, they do an inspection. None of the studies have been represented by the landfill on the environmental changes. None of that's been done. But already we're in the next step.
Excuse me, just so we understand the process, and I apologize if I missed it. This is the landfill within Williams Township?
no.
No.
Oh, you're talking about Bethlehem?
This is
You're
Bethlehem.
So we're dealing with Lower Saucon?
Yes,
Oh,
Lower
okay.
Saucon Township.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Yes.
So there's two, you have the licensure by DEP as one consideration, and then you have the zoning.
The zoning was already changed.
From the Lower Saucon, so they changed it, and did they permit this they permitted by conditional use?
No, so that's what's happening. They started off changing the zoning. That was the very first.
Right.
Because there's a listing on the different types of things under special exception versus conditional use. So now their next step is to take landfills are in special exception now, and those are different regulations than in the conditional.
Okay, are you
use.
talking about township regulations or
Township.
DEP? Okay,
So now they're pulling it out of, they're going into voting on whether or not conditional use, because then the township doesn't need to regulate it as much. It goes more into DEP.
all right,
And
yeah.
if you look at the chart.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
you
a
have
lot of
all those
information.
attorneys. So I guess you rely on that, but I'm a little surprised because the conditional, every municipality gets stuck with preemption issues with certain projects. But beyond that, to the extent that zoning is allowed there, conditional use generally is just a more intense special exception hearing, and run by the supervisors as opposed to the zoning hearing board. And that's where you're really dealing with a little bit of a different thing. So, I mean, we really do not know where this process is or how it's done. And in any event, thank you. I just wanted to try to clarify that.
So this next step that you're talking about,
Yes.
as far as zoning is concerned, when is that going to
So
occur?
the conditional use hearing is going to be happening Monday, the 27th already.
Wow.
And then they meet when for?
And then, from there, they're gonna make their decision. I don't even know if they're gonna wait.
At that
till-
meeting?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that, because the council's hired a special attorney to listen to all the people and all the experts. So I don't even know, I don't even think they're having a council meeting when that's over. I think it's probably going to be a quiet council meeting. I don't know that for sure.
Where is the meeting taking place?
Well, they have to advertise. I mean,
They have to advertise
yeah.
that, right, they have to advertise that, but.
Yeah, if it runs like most other, like the big warehouse, they'll have all these hearings, and then they'll have a night set up for argument, because there's different parties. They'll have the argument, and the council will listen, and then they'll often vote. They may vote at the end of that, at the end of the argument, and then give their solicitor they're up to 45 days to actually issue a formal decision, because they'll need findings of fact, conclusions of law, because that then becomes potential subject of an appeal, whether it's denied or granted. So it can be a long process. I mean, last time I was involved with a conditional use process, it was in Lower Nazareth, and it was 8 months. And when it was all said and done, the 8 months of hearings was for a warehouse that is now Lehigh Valley Hospital. So they just changed what they were warehousing.
That's right. They denied.
I don't know if you're aware of the requirements for DEP, but like when I'm doing a permit for DEP, they ask for Act 14, which is they have to go to municipalities and say, we're going to do this. Do you have any input?
Yeah, it's
is this the same thing in the permitting process? Do they have the same type of thing in the permitting process?
Well, you got to. I believe DEP would have their own public hearings, and you have zoning. You have two different issues running concurrently, because they can't operate unless they have their license from DEP.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so DEP should be holding public hearings as well in their permitting process. And the town, but they will still give respect to zoning. That's just it. And there are some limitations depending on how the case law is carved out, what they preempt. You know, what you could discuss in those conditional use hearings can be impacted by what DEP's oversight is. Can get very complicated.
Okay. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Mr. Wheeler, you have about 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Lance Wheeler, 143 South 9th Street, Easton, Pennsylvania, West Ward. Good evening, Council. So I come tonight because there's been so many things I've done in the West Ward, and I keep continue hearing about this community center that people in the West Ward want to know about. We talk about parking problems that are not solved in the West Ward. We talk about housing problems that are not solved. We talk about recreation problems that are supposed to be coming. So what I did on February 14th, I went to every kid in my neighborhood and said, let's do a community heart survey. This is what you guys, council, need to take time out and look before you think about putting a community center somewhere in this community, where we have one at the Easton Area Community Center that's running, just like we have the Silver Sneakers program and the senior program at the community center. I think maybe council needs to start looking and start realizing what the people in the West Ward want. You got a hotel downtown coming. You say our community center is coming in the West Ward, and we already had St. Anthony's. Where's that going to go with the parking? So here's...
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, Ron. Just so you understand, one of the reasons why council and the mayor is looking into the community center, because the community center down there now is adequate to what it needs for that community, and we'd like to see it be an updated version of
Mr.
that.
Brown, you're talking to someone that knows what needs to be in there. Don't come telling me about you're going to put a community center in the West Ward when you don't even know what the people really want.
Yes.
These cards will tell you, some of them. How about a water sprinkler park? How about a swimming pool? Where'd the market go? Again, I'm not here to argue about what I received, about things that were done to me through the mayor, his words, to you, Kenny, okay, Mr. Joel. I don't have, listen, it doesn't bother me. But the sad thing is, we're trying to put something in the West Ward where you haven't even asked these people. And really, are the blueprints out for this community center? Again, think about it. Everyone wants to say it's going to happen. Again, it ain't going to happen because I want to see where it's going to go and who's going to get the contracts and where's the parking going to go and how high is it going to go and where's it going to go. These are the things that you're not asking, but everyone in the West Ward seems that, hey, a community center is coming. They don't want it. These are what the kids want. Start looking at them.
What did it say, Lance?
What's it say?
Yes.
Oh, let's see, sprinkler park, a pool. Let's see, safer streets, bigger parks, trampoline park. Let's see, better garbage cans. Okay, and I don't want to hear about the GDP and we're trying. I'm just saying, you know what? We're not trying hard enough. So I'm going to leave these cards for council to look at and really think about what you would, and take time out really to come see where that park wants to go. Centennial Park, next, let's talk about wasted money. Let's talk about, oh, yeah, that's going to go great. I don't care about the mayor calling me a hoodlum and a villain. Yes, you did that in front of council, and you, Kenny Brown, made a comment about it. Okay? So, yes, you did. You did. Okay? Again, Mr. Joel, you talked about eating a chicken bone and choking on it. I had my little event. Dirty policy is why I'm not here. That's what's been done to me. And what I'm going to say is, I'm out knocking on doors in the West Ward to get the people to talk about what they want. And I think maybe you guys should do that. Not sit here and wonder how the parking in the community center is really going to go. Because guess what? Where is it going to go? That's a green space. What's that?
You have all the answers, so.
No, I don't have the answers, Kenny. But I see you're not out in the community.
Me?
You, Kenny Brown, yes, you're not out in the community. And I'm not going to argue with you. We can meet anytime you want, Kenny. No one has seen you in the West Ward. Mr. Edinger, where have they seen you? The only ones they've seen is Mr. O'Connell. That's come out and been to things in the West Ward.
I was just there at a function on Sunday
Where?
in the West Ward.
Which one?
In the West Ward.
Where?
Let's say that would have been 12:09, 12:35. I'm sorry.
What was it?
It was a gathering of listening to the community and what they want in that community.
Okay. That's the first time you've been there, Kenny.
That's not true.
Again, here's what I got to say. Here's what I got to say.
Talking what you don't know.
Okay, I know. I know what I do in the West Ward. I know I haven't seen none of yous in anything I've done. So here are the cards, people. Look at them. Before you really want to put a park up in the West Ward, again, who's going to run it in 4 years? Who's going to be able to work it? Who's going to be able to do everything that you guys say it's going to work? What about the Easton Area Community Center? Why can't we get that to work? Why can't that building the money be put in there? Again, I guess it's granted money and it's allocated what? Through the GDP? Come on. Again, it doesn't bother me what I'm saying. It's the truth. And people in the West Ward want to start seeing your faces and not hearing what you want to give them in the West Ward. Parking for a community center? Where? So here's the cards that these kids wrote and their parents wrote what they want to see. Mr. Edinger, I would ask you to take them because you are the representative of the West Ward.
I'll take them.
Okay, and look at them.
I do talk to people in my neighborhood where I live, Lance.
Okay. I'm in the West Ward. The West Ward's not just on 11th Street. It's not just in your neighborhood.
I tend to think that Mr. and I can't speak for Mr. Edinger, that as far as districts go, I believe that the representatives do represent the district, but they also represent the whole city as a whole.
And I understand that. And I didn't say he didn't. But what I'm saying is people would like to see you at more events. That's what I'm getting for the last 4 years. So city council, I'm just asking you, start looking at something. I have nothing to say to the mayor. He said enough. He's done enough to me. I'm still not going nowhere, and he knows what I'm talking about. So again, dirty policy is not why I'm here. I'm here because the people of the West Ward continue to keep hearing dreams and hopes. Listen to what the kids want. Go to the parks. Show your face in the parks. Really, if you really want to make a difference, show your face in the parks to these kids. Don't just sit there and, oh, well, you know, we're laughing. This is what's going to happen. No one, Kenny. 12:35. When? First event when? Really, when have you been to the West Ward to really talk to people? You got to start thinking. That's pretty bad when you got.
I'm in the West Ward every Sunday at 10 a.m.
That's church.
That's
I'm
right.
talking about
I'm in the West
right
Ward,
now when it's needed.
I'm in the West Ward, Lance, 2 or 3 times a week.
Where?
I go to breakfast there. I talk to people
Breakfast,
every
you go to
day.
I'm talking about
So,
being and talking to people
if you're
that
going to-
mean it, Kenny. Being and talking to people of color that mean it. Going to the restaurants, Kenny, that really want to see a councilman. You haven't done it. And I'm not saying you because don't call yourself out. Again, Jimmy, this is for you. You live in the West Ward. Don't sit back and say, I want to look at it.
Are you saying, Lance, that I only represent
I'm not,
other...
you're the one that start running your mouth about I go in the West Ward. I haven't seen you at any function in the last 5 years.
All due respect, speak to me with...
I am speaking to you with it.
No,
I am.
You're not.
Okay. Kenny, you know what?
But listen to me, Lance, please. Lance, I pride myself on going in every community. I'm out there more than... Just because you don't see me, don't mean I'm not doing anything.
Have you been to the pumpkin patch, Christmas trees? Have you been to any of that?
I have.
You haven't?
I have. You were there when my wife picked up 2 of the things and gave them to 2 neighbors.
Listen,
and
I'm not... All I'm saying is council needs to wake up. If you really want to be something in the West Ward, because all you talk about is, that's all I hear, is downtown, downtown. Kenny, you can shake your head. You can say whatever. It's not about just you.
That's correct.
It's all of you. All of you. that need to get out and start doing things. You talk about a community center, Kenny. You didn't know about Silver Sneakers? Where you been? The Easton Community Center's open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 to 2. I'm there every day.
What did I say, Lance? Want to run the tape?
What's that?
What did I say?
I don't know what you said. What'd you say? Is it still, you said it's still, Silver Sneakers still going?
Correct. I wasn't sure if
You wasn't sure? You're a councilman. The city funds the money. The county gives the money. You don't know about this? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm there every week.
Okay, yeah.
They don't know who the council people are, except Dave O'Connell, who shows up when I'm asked him. So again, don't come at me with, oh, you're there. People want to see you more. But again, I'm not here to win a vote. I don't care about it. What I'm telling you now is people are calling out councilmen because you don't show up to community functions. And don't say that 12:30, what was that one? Once in a big time, was that a Big Papa's? Come on, man. You're supporting something that you know and I know that you shouldn't be involved in.
What you guys?
Move on. Okay.
Thank you. Let's move on. Are we ready to adjourn? May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
And Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Trudy, you want to come forward?
Council, she gave me a website that I'm going to email to everybody tomorrow to look up the information.
You need me to sign that stuff, Bree?
Not tonight.
Okay.
You need signatures.